Hey guys, it's Mark from Ace Tutors, and in this video, I'm going to explain two sample t-tests for means. This is going to be very similar to my video on one sample t-test for means, so let's jump right into it. As a reminder, the goal of hypothesis testing is to make a certain conclusion about a large population by using data from a smaller sample. Two sample t-tests are just one way to do that when you have certain populations and certain data. So when would you use a two-sample t-test for means? Well, you would use this type of hypothesis test whenever three things are true. First, you need to have two distinct populations or groups you're pulling data from. Second, your data has to be in the form of means as opposed to proportions or another measure. And third, the population standard deviation sigma has to be unknown. Now, to solve these types of problems, we're going to use the same process we follow for all hypothesis test problems, the 5 C's, which we first discussed in my video covering the idea of hypothesis testing in general. We are first going to create our hypotheses for our particular problem, then we will check certain necessary conditions are true in order to use this two-sample t-test method. Next, we will calculate our test statistic and p-value, compare these to our critical value and alpha value, and finally conclude based on our findings. Alright, let's dive into each of these steps with our first example. Your school has started doing more classes online, and you think they lead to lower test scores. Your math professor teaches her course in person and online, so you decide to test your idea. Your professor allows you to take two simple random samples of students' final exam scores. One for students taking the course in person, and one for students taking the course online. You find that 35 students taking the course in person have an average score of 91%, with a sample standard deviation of 7 percentage points. And 32 students taking the course online have an average score of 86%, with a sample standard deviation of 11 percentage points. At an alpha value of 0.05, test your claim. Okay, first, following our 5 steps, we need to create our null and alternative hypotheses. As always, I like to start with our alternative hypothesis. Our alternative hypothesis, H sub A, is whatever we're testing about the population. And just like how we did it for the two-sample test for proportions video, we're going to write our hypothesis by comparing the difference in the two means to 0. This will come in one of 3 forms. If the mean for the first population mu1 is greater than the mean for the second population mu2, then mu1 minus mu2 would be greater than 0. If mu1 is less than mu2, then mu1 minus mu2 would be less than 0. If you are just testing to see whether mu1 and mu2 are different from one another, then mu1 minus mu2 would be not equal to 0. For our problem, since we are testing to see whether the true mean test scores for students taking the class in person is greater than the true mean test scores for students taking the class online, our alternative hypothesis would be mu in person minus mu online is greater than 0. Then our null hypothesis is always just the opposite of this, which makes our null hypothesis H sub O, mu in person minus mu online, is less than or equal to 0. Alright, next, as always, let's start drawing a picture of the distribution matching our problem to help us visualize it. Since we don't know our population standard deviations, we're going to use a t-distribution, so let's draw that. Next, we want to draw this distribution in the context of our problem. To do that, we draw our distribution assuming there is no difference in our two population means. If there is no difference in the two means, then mu1 minus mu2 would be 0. So we're going to center our distribution at this value. Alright, with that added to our distribution, let's set that aside for now and we'll return to it later. Now that we have our hypotheses and drawing, we next need to check our conditions. For two sample t-tests for means, there are 3 different conditions that need to be satisfied in order for us to be able to use this test type. Essentially, we're trying to make sure that the data we collected is a good representation of the overall populations. The first condition we need to meet is that the data we collect is from simple random samples of the populations to ensure we picked our data points randomly. The second is that the populations we are taking samples from are approximately normally distributed. This condition can be satisfied in two ways. First, if the samples are greater than 30, then the central limit theorem says that our sampling distribution is approximately normal. If the sample sizes are less than 30, then the problem must explicitly state that the sampling distributions are approximately normal directly. And lastly, the third condition we need to meet is that the samples are less than 10% of the entire population sizes. The reason we need this to be true is to reasonably assume that our samples are independent from one another. Going through these for our problem, the question states that you take simple random samples, so that checks off the first condition. Next, the sample sizes for each population are 35 and 32 respectively, so we can assume the sampling distributions are normally distributed, and that checks off the second condition. And finally, let's assume there are far more than 320 students taking the course in person and more than 350 students taking the course online, so that checks off our third condition. Okay, now that our conditions are met, we can move on with the problem and calculate the test statistic and p-value for our samples. As a reminder, the test statistic is just the standardized value associated with our sample data, in our case the sample means, and the p-value represents the probability of getting the difference in the sample means we got if the difference in population means is actually zero. Since this is a two-sample t-test and we're using a normal distribution, our test statistic is a t-statistic. The formula for t for two-sample t-tests for means is t equals x1 bar minus x2 bar divided by the square root of s1 squared divided by n1 plus s2 squared divided by n2, where x1 bar is our sample mean score of students taking the class in person, x2 bar is our sample mean score of students taking the class online, s1 is our sample standard deviation of in-person students, s2 is our sample standard deviation of online students, n1 is our sample size of in-person students, and n2 is our sample size of online students. Once we have our t-statistic, we can then find our p-value by using a calculator or the tables from class. Alright, now let's calculate these values for our problem. For our problem, we know that our sample mean for in-person students x1 bar is 91%. Our sample mean for online students x2 bar is 86%. Our in-person student sample standard deviation S1 is 7 percentage points. Our online student sample standard deviation S2 is 11 percentage points. N1 is 35 students and N2 is 32 students. Plugging this into a calculator, we get that t equals about 2.20. Now that we have all of this calculated, let's add all of this to our distribution. As I mentioned, our t-distribution is centered at the assumed difference in population means of 0. However, when we collected data on our sample, we found that the sample mean for in-person students was 91% and the sample mean for online students was 86%. This is a difference of 5 percentage points. And let's say that's somewhere like here on the distribution. It's obviously greater than our assumed difference of 0, so this gives some evidence for our claim. But this could have also just happened by chance based on the students we sampled. To know for sure, we need to calculate the probability of getting the sample data we got. To do this, we first standardized our data from a difference in sample means into a t-score. As a reminder, the t-distribution is always centered at a t-score of 0, so our assumed difference of 0 gets converted to a t-score of 0. And then the t-score for our difference in sample means, we found that to be 2.20. Next, to find the p-value or probability of getting this test statistic, we could find the area in the distribution from this value to the tail corresponding to our alternative hypothesis. Since we're trying to test whether the true difference in means is actually greater than 0, we would shade the area to the right of our test statistic to find the probability of getting a difference in sample means of 5 percentage points or more just by chance if the true difference in means is actually 0. Now to calculate this p-value, I mentioned you could do so either with a calculator or from t-distribution tables. But just like my last video doing a t-test, in order to find the p-value, you need to know one more piece of information, and that's degrees of freedom. As a reminder, degrees of freedom are ultimately a measure of how close our distribution is to the normal distribution. The lower the degrees of freedom, the shorter and more spread out the t-distribution is to account for the potential for more variability. The higher the degrees of freedom, the closer the t-distribution is to the normal distribution. For two-sample t-tests, you might see two different ways to calculate the degrees of freedom. The first is that you simply take the smaller value of n1-1 and n2-1. The second is this gross-looking formula. The first is what you'll normally see in an intro stat course since it's easier to compute and will normally result in a lower degrees of freedom, which will produce a more conservative result in the end. The second is more advanced and is normally what a calculator would do when you're doing this sort of test. For our problem, let's just use the first method. Since n1-1 is 34 and n2-1 is 31, our degrees of freedom will be 31 for this problem. Now we have everything we need to calculate our p-value. For this example, we'll use a calculator that is available on our website. I'll drop a link down in the description if you'd like to check it out. First, we need to select whether we're looking for a p-value or t-value. Since we calculated our t-statistic and we're looking for a p-value, we will select the t-value to p-value button. Next, we need to select whether our test is left-tailed, right-tailed, or two-tailed. As we just discussed, our test would be right-tailed because we're trying to see if the true difference in means is greater than 0. Next, we will enter our t-statistic of 2.20 and degrees of freedom of 31 to find that our p-value is about 0.0177. Now that we have our test statistic and p-value, we can compare these to our critical value or alpha value. As a reminder from my previous video, to make this comparison, you can either compare your test statistic to your critical value or your p-value to your alpha value. Since we have our alpha value given in the problem and we just calculated our p-value, let's compare those two. It works out the same no matter which way you do it, so it doesn't matter too much. Okay, to compare our p and alpha values, we just need to determine which one is bigger or smaller. With a p-value of 0.0177 and an alpha value of 0.05, the p-value is less than the alpha value. Okay, great. Now that our comparison is done, we can move on to our last step, conclude. If you recall, there are only two conclusions you can make for hypothesis testing problems. We can either reject the null hypothesis in favor of the alternative hypothesis, or we can fail to reject the null hypothesis. To know when to make each conclusion, I like to remember the saying, if p is low, reject HO. That means that if our p-value is low, aka lower than our alpha value, we should reject HO, the null hypothesis. If the p-value is greater than the alpha value, then we would fail to reject the null hypothesis. For our example, the p-value of 0.0177 was less than our alpha value of 0.05, so we would reject our null hypothesis. To put this in context of the problem, we could say at a 5% significance level, we reject the null hypothesis and have sufficient evidence to support the claim that the true mean final exam score for students taking the course in person is significantly higher than the true mean final exam score for students taking the course online. Okay, so that's how you do two-sample t-tests for means. If any of those steps were confusing, don't worry. I'd encourage you to go back and watch each step and really internalize what we did for each of the 5 steps in our process. This is going to be really important as we're going to follow this 5-step process for every single type of hypothesis testing problem we do. First, we create our hypotheses, then check conditions, then calculate our test statistic and p-value, then compare those values to our critical or alpha value, and finally conclude based on our findings. In future videos, I'll cover many more examples of this and other hypothesis test types. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, please hit that subscribe button to support us making more videos for you. If you didn't, please leave us a comment down below to let us know what we can do better. Thanks again for watching, and remember, you have big dreams. Don't let a class get in the way.